Okay. Please remember to complete the register in the chat. I will just check if Adele did post it. Otherwise, I will post it there.
Elizabeth, will you post it? I see now on this link, I'm not part of, I can't access the chat.
Okay, I will do that.
Thank you.
I just copied it.
Can you record?
Yes, I've started the recording.
Thank you.
Okay, the link is on the chat. Please make sure that you complete the link, the register. Remember, if you have any issues or you require any assistance, you can send an email to ctntat@unisa.ac.za and copy me so that they can know who to send the request to as well. And clearly specify the module that you're busy with. And if you need assistance with the content, you need to also specify exactly what the issue is so that they are able to direct you to the relevant person as well. Welcome to your basic skills. Today we're going to continue with what we did the last time, but here we're going to look at how we apply the same skill on a different topic. So the same skill in terms of how we do the probabilities using the table and using the sign that they give us on a sampling distribution questions. And welcome to your session 2. Like with all the other sessions to come, remember the problem solving method that we're going to follow in the session. I just wanted to recap this so that for those who were not part of the class the last time, then they understand how we do things in this session. So remember that you can use this framework to understand or unpack your question by first reading the question and making sure that you understand it in your own terms. Then identify what the question is trying to tell you or is asking you to do by also identifying the facts that are inside the question that are posed. For example, if they give you the standard deviation, identify what kind of a standard deviation. Is it the standard deviation from the population or is it the standard deviation from the mean? You identify those facts because those facts, they will help you in understanding what type of a formula, if that is a formula, you need to use a formula, or what type of a table you will need to use. Then once you have your facts, you can identify the things that are required in order for you or are needed in order for you to be able to answer that question by means of identifying the table, by identifying the formula. And once you have that, then you can start doing your calculations, which is do the calculations. And after you have done your calculation, you need to always go back and check if you did all the steps correctly. And that is to quality assure your work or to look at if there are any mistakes that you have followed or you have made on your question when you were answering the question. In the session itself, remember that we are going to use our feedback session will be us coming back together as a group and answering the question together and seeing where we made our mistakes, if there are people who answered the question not the same way as we did. The other thing I need to also alert you to is always remember to use the chat when we do calculations, to ask questions or to post your solutions on the chat. And let's make the session fun and interactive and not to be a one-way where I'm the only one talking. So I want you also to take part in the session. So let's start. We're going to learn the basic skills that are required for you to do sampling distribution. And the things that you require in order for you to be able to answer the questions properly. You need the statistical tables. You need to get your formulas close by. And you need the calculator because we're doing calculations always. By the end of the session, you should be able to know how to compute the probabilities by applying any of the signs, whether it's a less than or a greater than or between. You also need to know how to use the table to find those probabilities on the table. So let's dig in so that we can do lots and lots of practice. I'm going to take about 5 or even less than 5 minutes just to give you a little bit of a background, and then we go into activities. With sampling distribution, you would have learned in your module that the mean of a sampling distribution or the mean of a population or the mean of a sampling distribution of the mean is the same as the population mean. And also, you should have learned that the standard deviation of a sampling distribution of the mean is also called the standard error, and it is the population standard deviation divided by the square root of n. So let's say, for example, they give us a statement and they say, suppose the population has the mean of 8, the standard deviation of 3. Suppose a random sample size n is equals to 36 is selected. Calculate the mean of a sampling distribution, calculate the standard deviation of a sampling distribution. Going back to our problem solving framework, what is the question saying in my own understanding? I'm given information. I need to calculate the mean and I need to calculate the standard deviation. Moving to the next step, what is it that we are given? Just to make sure that I highlight the facts that are included in the topic. I'm given in this way because mine are highlighted in red. On yours, it will not be highlighted in any color. You need to go and identify that when they talk about the mean. So now I'm identifying the facts that are in here. When they talk about the mean, they say mu is 8, standard deviation sigma is 3, and the sample size n 36. That's what they have given me. Those are my facts. Those are the things that I know are in the sentence. What is the question asking me to do? They're asking me to calculate. So it means I will need to use a calculator to calculate something. I will need a formula to calculate something because I need to calculate. What are the things that I need in order for me to be able to answer this question? to answer the question where they're asking me to calculate the mean. Therefore, I know that the mean of a sampling distribution is the same as the population mean. So I must write that formula. For the standard deviation of a sampling distribution, it is given by the population standard deviation divided by the square root of n. So I've identified what I need to enable me to answer the question that has been asked. Using my facts that I have identified previously, I can then now come and substitute into the formula and answer the question. The mean is equals to 8 because our population mean given as a fact is 8. Our standard deviation of a sampling distribution is the population standard deviation divided by the square root of the sample size. I know what the population standard deviation is because it was given in the facts. I know what my sampling size is because it was also given as part of the facts. So I can just come here, substitute 3 divided by the square root of 36. Remember to take your calculator and calculate. 3 divided by the square root of 36 is 6. And this will be 1 over 2 because 3 goes 1 time into 3 and it goes 2 times into 6. Or we can call it 0.5 because 1 over 2, when we divide 1 by 2, we get 0.5. And that's how you will answer the questions when they are posed to you. Since we're dealing with sampling distribution, I also want to show you how to answer the questions in terms of the z-score. Like we learned when we do the normal probability as well. With sampling distribution, you also have the z-score. And our z-score is the mean minus the sample mean minus the population mean divided by the standard error. We've learned what the standard error is. The population standard deviation divided by the square root of n. We will use the z-score to go find the value on the table. How do we do that? Using the same question that we have, what is the probability that the sample mean is between 7.8 and 8.2? Now they're asking us to find the probability of between. Remember what we've learned previously? We need to always remember the techniques we learned from different chapters or units in your study guide as well, so that you can apply them in other study units as well. Before we start there, remember when we calculate the probability of any value where it is less than, we're always going to find the value of that probability on the table. If we calculate the probability of z greater than any value, we're going to say 1 minus the probability we find on the table. If it is the probability of between, like we have, where we need to find the probability of between, we need to remember that we have to find the probability of where z is less than on the second value, subtract the probability of z less than on the first value, and we go find those values on the table. This will be our table value, and this will be our table value. Okay, if we still remember those concepts, then let's find this probability. Finding the probability, we always write what the question is asking us. The question in my own terms, the way I will understand it, it says I need to find the probability that the sample mean lies between two values, which is 7.8 and 8.2. I wrote it in the way I understand it. What are the facts that are given here? I'm given the population standard deviation, the population mean, the sample size. The question is asking me to find the probability. So I already know when I find the probability, I need to always remember that I'm finding the probability of between two values. Therefore, I will go and find the probability of Z less than B minus the probability of Z less than A. And then I need to also use the table. I will have to go to the table to go find those probabilities. Now, since I've collected all the facts and I know what the question is asking me to do, and I know what formulas I will need to use, I haven't identified that formula, have I? Nope. I still need to identify the formula to use. We know the formula to use for Z is your sample mean minus your population mean divided by the standard error, which is the population standard deviation divided by the square root of n. So therefore, I can just calculate that, because now I know I need to calculate the Z of the 7.8 and then the Z of the 8.2. I can do it outside. So let's first do the Z of 7.8. Knowing the formula, the mean of a sample mean, it's the one that is given in the question. So I can just substitute the mean of a sample mean, subtract the population mean is given in the statement, is 8, divided by the standard error. Since we're using the same question, I don't have to go and calculate the standard error again. If I didn't calculate the standard error before, I will be using the same formula and calculating all of them. But we've calculated that because I said using the same information, the follow-up question is to find the sampling, the probability. Now I have my standard error of 0.5 that we have calculated previously. So we can use that. So we're going to use 0.5 because I know that the population standard deviation of 3 divided by the square root of 36 is 0.5. And this gives me 7.8 minus 8 divided by 0.5 will give me minus 0.4. Now I'm done with the first one. I can do the same with the Z of 8.2. Z is equals to 8.2. The mean, it's always the one in the question, which will be 8.2 minus the population mean of 8 divided by The standard error, we already calculated it. It's 0.5 divided by 0.5. And that gives us 8.2 minus 8 divided by 0.5 gives us 0.4. So now we need to go and calculate the probability. So we know what the probability will look like. The probability of Z, since we calculated the values of Z, I don't have to go and substitute again. So I can just use the values we calculated previously. Of minus 0.4 and 0.4. And that will give us so now, since I know that if I have the probability of Z score between the two values, I will need to say, I need to go and find the probability of Z of B, because B is the second one. So it means I must do Z less than 0.4 minus the probability of Z less than A. Z less than A. And that gives me, our A is minus 0.4. Our A is minus 0.4. Now we need to go to the table. When we go to the table, remember the statistical table. We're using the cumulative standardized normal distribution table. Coming to the table, we need to look for the probability of Z less than 0.4 minus the probability of Z less than minus 0.4. It means we need to go and look for the probability on the positive side and the probability on the negative side of the table. Since we are on the negative side, we can start here. And always remember that when we use the probability table, we always leave our answer to two decimals, 0.40 and minus 0.40. This will enable us to know on the left-hand side where to find the decimal before and after the comma, and at the top of the table, where to find the last digit. So looking at minus 0.40, we need to find minus 0.4 at the left-hand side of the table, and we need to go find the last digit 0 at the top. So let's go find 0.4. It will be somewhere right at the bottom of the table. And there is 0.4. And remember, at the top, we're looking for 0. At the top, we're looking for 0. So that means we're using the first column. Where they both meet, that is the value we are looking for. So 0,4 and 0 gives us 0,3446. Remember, you are more than welcome to stop me and ask a question if you don't understand or if I'm moving too quickly. So we had 0,3446 for the minus 0,4. Looking at 0,4, we go to the positive side of the table. This is the positive side. We look for 0,4 and 0 at the top. Where they both meet, that will be the probability we're looking for. 0,6554. Going back, we have 0,6554. And that's what we're going to write on our probability tables. So going back to our question. Coming back to our question. We had 6554 minus 0,3446, and taking our calculator, calculating the values, we end up with, quickly, let me do the calculation, 0,6554 minus 0,3446. 0,3108. Any question? Things will become clearer when we start doing lots and lots of exercises. So I just wanted to make sure that you still remember some of these concepts. Any question? If there are no questions, that's the same exercise we just did. Here is your exercise. Suppose Africa Check conducted further research using a sample size of 100. The number of times an AI algorithm is successful at detecting fake news is normally distributed with a different mean of 900 and the same standard deviation of 100. Let X be the number, or let X bar be the number of times the algorithm is successful in detecting fake news. Find the P bracket X bar less than or equal 920 equal question mark. You can now unmute. Let's discuss the question. In your own understanding, what is the question telling you? So we are applying our process thinking or process of problem solving method? Anyone? Am I alone in this group? Because if I'm alone, then I don't have to learn the skill because I already know some of the things. I can just go home. Anyone?
I think they're asking about mean sampling distribution, I think.
Okay.
The mean sampling distribution, meaning like the previous example we did.
Yes.
So we have to calculate using the z value. We have to calculate the z values as well, and we have to substitute in the formula.
Okay. So they're asking you to find the sampling distribution of the mean. That's correct. You also went on and you identified what you are also given. So or what you know about the sampling distribution. You already alluded to the fact that you know that it's similar to what you did previously. So it gives you a little bit of understanding of what the question is asking you as well, if you can identify those. You also identify, what else are you identifying? The facts that are given to you, what are you given?
Okay, we given the standard deviation, which is 100.
You're given the standard deviation, so you will go and say, this is your sigma.
Yes.
Equals to 100.
Your sample size is also 100. N is 100.
You will say N is 100. Yes.
And we also given the mean. The mean is 900.
You are given the mean, which is mu, which is 900. So you've identified that. What is the question asking you to do?
Find the probability that the sample mean is less than or equal to 920.
Correct. Find the probability. So they're asking you to find the probability. And when you find the probability of less than, what do you know about that?
You less than and equal. No, I'm a bit confused with that.
So we know that when we find the probability of a less than, when we go to the table, the value we find on the table will be that probability we are looking for. The answer will just be that value we find on the table.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
That sign. Okay. So in order for us to answer this question, what do we need?
We're going to need our Z formula. So basically, we're going to say Z equals, let me just get my formula. Where is it? I'm just getting my formulas in my textbook. I should have written it down.
Okay, I can help.
Yes,
Z,
you can help.
Z
Yes.
is equal to sample size minus mean over sigma, which is the standard deviation, over the square root of the population.
Of the sample size.
Of the sample size, sorry.
Yes. Okay, so now we have everything we need in order for us to answer the question. Now we can go and start answering the question. So let's answer the question. I will start your line, because I know when we were doing the first exercise, I did it outside of the probability, but for this one, I want to do it inside the probability. So let's do it inside. So already, because we know that we need to find the probability, and in order for us to find this probability, we need to standardize our mean by using the Z, and I'm still going to keep my sign, and I'm going to use the formula. So the formula is your X bar minus the mean, or your sample size mean minus the population mean divided by the standard error. So now let's substitute into this formula, into the X bar minus the mean divided by the standard error, sigma divided by the square root of n. So let's substitute. We need to go find the probability Z. Our X bar always given in the question, right? Which will give us the 920. Oh, sorry, I don't want to take over. You can continue. Let's substitute the mean.
You're going to say 920 minus 900. Then over 100 over a square root and then 100. And you're going to calculate the value. The value is 2.00.
Then you're gonna go and calculate everything that is here, and you will find that it is 2.00. That will be your answer. 920 minus 900 divided by 100 divided by the square root of n. So those who couldn't find 2.00, first do step by step. Do your standard error, which is your 100 divided by the square root of 100. Find the answer. Then do 920 minus 900, which will give you. So you will say, you will repeat the steps step by step and say 920 minus 900 is 20. Divide by 100 divided by the square root of n gives you whatever the answer of that was. I must still go and calculate. What is the answer?
0.9772.
0.9772. And then say 20 divided by 0.9772 will give you 2.00. We're going to leave our answer in 2 decimals because we always use 2 decimals when we go to the Z table. So let's go to the Z table and go find our value.
No, sorry, Lizzie. I meant that 0.9772 was the table value. I already calculated the 2.00, which is the thing. I went directly to the table.
Okay. I was asking for the value of the standard error. So you.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear you properly. My connection is a bit funny.
Okay. No, then
Okay,
it's
so
fine.
the standard error is the standard error is 10.
The standard error was 10. So 20 divided by 10 gives us 2.00. And then we go to the table. And because it is positive 2.0, we go to the positive side of the table. Sorry, I clicked wrong. So we go to the positive side. And we're looking for 2.00. Therefore, it means the first two digits, we find them on the side. And the last digit, we find it at the top. And the probability is 0.9772. Did we all get the same answer? Are we happy?
Yes.
Okay. We also have the proportions. We need to also learn how to do the same how we calculate the probability of a sampling distribution, but now when we are given the proportions. And we know that when we are given the proportions, our sample proportion, sometimes they will not give you the sample proportion, but they will give you observations satisfying that relationship or that sample, and you are able to calculate your sample proportion. Like we did when we do probabilities, you've learned how to calculate the probability, because with probabilities is your outcome satisfying that probability or that event. And in this instance, our event is a sample. And you divided that by the sample frame. And in this instance, we divide by our sample size, which is the same. Always, like with probabilities, remember that your sample proportion should always be between 0 and 1. If you have a value above those, then it means you did calculate it wrong. Okay, so let's learn how to find the other measures. So the proportion or the mean of a sampling distribution of proportion is the same as your population proportion. The mean of your sampling distribution of the proportion is the same as your population proportion, and your population proportion will always be given to you in the statement. The standard error that we will use when we calculate the sampling distribution or the Z value for the sampling distribution is given by the square root of your population proportion times 1 minus the population proportion divided by n. Let's take it for a ride. Let's look at this question. From past knowledge, Africa Check knows that true proportion of ghost profiles on Facebook is 0.2. Suppose we take a sample of 200 Facebook profiles and we found only 34 to be ghost profiles. What is the value of the population proportion and the sample proportion? Number one, what does the question tell me? Oh, the question is telling me that we're analyzing data that comes from the Facebook. They're looking at ghost profile and they gave us some measures on there. And they looked at 200 Facebook profiles. And we're going to have to find the population proportion and we're going to have to find the sample proportion. That's me unpacking what the question is telling me. What are the facts that are linked to this? Oh, they told me that the proportion is 0.2, but this comes from Africa Check and they say the proportion of the ghost profiles on Facebook. So here they're giving me population proportion because this is the population that comes from Africa Check. So that is my population proportion of 0.2. They also tell me that they took a sample of 200. So my N is 200. And they also telling me that they found that only 34 to be ghost. So from that sample, 34 of those people or some of the profile that they looked at were ghost profile. So then they also giving me my X, which is my observations that satisfy that relationship or that comes from that sample. So they're giving me my X. Okay, so I have my facts. I know. What is the question asking me to do? What is the value? Also, they're asking me to find the value. What is the value? Will mean I need to find or I need to calculate the value if possible. I need to calculate the value because if I'm not finding it, I will have to calculate it because I've got things that I can use. Then I move to the next step. What do I need in order for me to answer this question? Oh, I need, because they're asking me population proportion, I need to know what my population proportion is, and I need to know what my sample proportion is. And since with the sample proportion, from what I've gathered, and I know, I can calculate the sample proportion by using a formula. P is equals to X divided by N. Okay. Now I have everything I need. Let me do the calculations or let me go find the value. Go into my statement. There's my population proportion given to me. So my population proportion is 0.2. I was able to find it. What is the value of the population proportion? 0.2. Sample proportion, go and read the question. They give me a sample size. They give me the X. Oh, I know I'm going to use a formula because if I have my X of 34 and I have my sample size of 200, then I can calculate my P. (34) divided by 200. Zero comma 17. Yay! Then I can come and answer the question. 0.2 and 34, that's not the correct one. 0, that's not the correct one, so I don't even have to continue there. 0.17, I did calculate something like this. 0.2, I did calculate something like this, but are they correct? My pi is 0.2. Oh, it's not correct. My pi is 0.2. Yes, it's correct. My p is 0.1. Yes, it's correct. So my answer is that. That would be incorrect. And that's how easy it will be. But also we need to find the probability. So finding the probability, like we did with the mean, we use the z-score. You sample p. If it's not given to you the sample proportion as a percentage or as a decimal, they will give you observations satisfying that and the sample size, and you can calculate your p. Remember that. Remember that if it's not given, they will give you x divided by n. You can calculate your p. Your population proportion will be given in the statement, and we use it also in the sampling or in the standard error or the standard deviation of the sampling distribution, which is the population proportion times 1 minus the population proportion divided by n. Okay, let's look at an example. If the population proportion and the sample size, population proportion of 0.4 and the sample size of n equals to 200, what is p into bracket 0.40 less than or equals to small p less than 0.05 close bracket? What does the question's asking me? Or in my own understanding, oh, I have the values of the population proportion and the sample size, and the question is asking me to find the probability of the sample size between two values of 0.4 and 0.5. Okay, facts given: pi 0.4 and 200. P, I don't have to calculate x divided by n because they gave me my proportion in a decimal or a percentage, which is 0.4 or 40%. So I already have all the information. What do I need? Oh, what does the question ask me to do? It's asking me to calculate the probability. And it's the probability of between. So if it's the probability of between, therefore it means when I go find that probability of between, I will need to go and say the probability of z less than b minus the probability of z less than a, and I will go find the probability on the table. Yay! What do I need to answer this question? I need to be using the Z formula, which is my sample proportion minus my population proportion divided by the standard error, which is my population proportion times 1 minus my population proportion divided by n. Okay, easy. So since I have that, because this is a little bit complex with the population proportion, I am going to first calculate my population proportion, or my standard error. First, I'm going to calculate this value underneath the denominator, the value underneath the square root. I'm going to calculate the square root first. So calculating the population proportion, I'm given the pi of 0.04. I'm given my n of 200, so I can just substitute, calculate, find that it is 0.03464. Okay. Now I can use that value. Remember, when we do calculations, always remember, do not be too lazy to only round it off quickly. Leave your decimals as they are. Only round off when you get to the final answer, because we're still in the problem mode. We're not going to round off quickly, but we can round off to 4 or 5 decimals, because when we have more decimals, we are able to carry the integrity of that equation or that answer that we will get at the end. So I've rounded it off to 4 decimal. Is it 4 or 5? 5 decimals. Also, always keep it to more than 2, more than 3 actually decimals, so that you keep the integrity of your answer at the end. When you round off quickly, you are adding up decimals, and the answer that you're going to get at the end will be inflated by those decimals that you have been rounding up and adding up. So leave your decimals to 4 or 5 or more while you're still in the problem mode. Okay. So now I can move on and go and calculate the probability, because I know I need to use this formula to calculate the probability. I'm going to standardize my values first and calculate my probability using the formula. So I know that I need to calculate the probability of P between the two values, standardizing by using the Z, using the formula for both sides. Substitute. My P is 0.40, always given in the question. My population proportion, which is my pi, is given in the statement, which is 0.4. Divide by my standard error, because I've calculated it before. I have my answer. Substitute it into the equation of that standard error. Do the same thing on the next one. For the 0.45 is my sample proportion minus the population proportion, which is 0.4. Therefore, substituting 0.4 into the equation, divide by the standard error that we already calculated. Calculating, remember to do things step by step. So 0.40 minus 0.40 will give me 0. I don't even have to do the one at the bottom, because anything 0 divided by a value will just be 0. 0.45 minus 0.4, which will be 0.05 divided by 0.03464, gives me 1.44. Now I have the probability. So I will need to go and find the probability of Z less than 1.44 minus the probability of Z less than 0.00. Remember to keep it to 2 decimals. Go into the table, go find the probability of 1.44. We've been doing it. I'm not going to the table. When we go to the table, we find that that probability is 0.9251 minus, go into the table. You can go to the table in front of you and go look for 0.00, and you will find that 0.500. And subtract one from the other. The probability of between will be equals to 0.4251. We have standardized our value from the sampling distribution to a normal distribution. I'm going to give you some time to think about the question, do the question on your own, and then we'll come back and reflect on it. And for those who want to take 2 minutes or 3 minutes break to go stretch your legs, go make yourself coffee, come back so that we can do this exercise. So I'm gonna give you up to 10 minutes will be, 10 minutes will be too long because this is just a short question. Let me give you 5 minutes. So until 10 to, we come back, we look at this together. Your 5 minutes starts right now. If you have any question, you can ask. Remember to use the problem solving of Newman's error analysis framework. What does the question asking you to do? Or understand the question first in your own term. What are you given? What does the question asking you to do? What do you need to answer this question? And want to have all the information, then you can start calculating and answering your question. Good luck. See you at 10 to. And please remember, those who joined late, please complete the register. I'm going to repost it in case you don't see it on the chat. Okay, so we're back. Back. Are you all back? Do you want extra time? I can always give you 5 more minutes extra to do. And remember to use the chat as well to post your answers. I still don't hear anyone saying anything about the extension. Do you still want a little bit more time? I'm gonna give you 5 more minutes. No longer 5 more minutes. We're done. Let's move on so that we can have more activities as well to cover or to do. So how do we answer this question? Hello, anyone? Okay, it seems like I'm talking to myself.
Okay.
So we calculated the sample proportion previously. I'm not gonna go back there. We found that it was 0.17. So now we know that we're using the same question as we did with the previous exercise. The question is asking us to find the probability of more than. So it means when we go find the probability of Z, then we're going to say 1 minus the probability of the value we find on the table. Because we are given the greater than. So we're going to say 1 minus the probability of the value we find on the table. So let's go calculate the question. So we know we need to find the probability of P greater than 0.17. Therefore, it means we need to find the probability of, we standardize that, which will be greater than or equal P minus population proportion divided by the standard error And we can go and calculate the standard error outside. We know that it is the square root of your population proportion, 1 minus the population proportion, divide by n, which our population proportion was 0,2, 1 minus 0,2, divide by n is 200. Divide by 200. What did you get? Point 2 times 0.8 divide by 200. It is 0,008. Take the square root of the answer and we get, I'm gonna write it here, 0,0283. So we can come here and substitute the values. Z greater than or equals to our P 0,17 minus population proportion 0,2 divide by 0,0283. This, don't need that anymore. We found that. So Z greater than, so we're going to say 0.17 subtract 0.2 equals minus 0,0300 divide by 0.0283 equals minus 1.06. Then we go to the table. I'm not going to show the table. We go to the negative side of the table and we look for minus 1.0 and 6. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we find that it is 0,1446.
1446.
But we need to remember that we need to apply the rule, which is 1 minus the value we find on the table, and on the table we went and found Z minus 1.06. So therefore we need to go find 1 minus 0.1446. That's what we found. Né?
Yes.
And take your calculator and calculate 1 minus 0.1446 is equals to 0,854. And that's how you answer the question. Any question? Any question? If there are no questions, then we move to the exercise. You have 1 minute to answer this question. And when you have the answer, let me know you are done. Are we done?
I think the answer is number 1.
Okay, what is the sampling distribution of the mean? What is the mean?
That's mu, it's 900.
We know that that is the same as the mean. It's 900. Next. What will be the standard error? I can just put the equation for you.
Okay, so that would be 100 over the square root of 100 again. That will give me 10. Option 3.
On this one, you will take a little bit of time. So calculate. What is the probability that the average reading speed of an adult with ASD will be at least 95? So they're asking you to find the probability, not what I just wrote there.
Okay.
They're asking you to find the probability that the average will be greater than or equal to 95. Ask yourself, what is it given? What do you need to do? I'm gonna give you 5 minutes.
Okay.
By it.
Okay, so I found the answer. I think the answer is option 2.
Okay, so how do we enter that?
So you find the Z, the distribution following the formula, the mean minus, so basically you say 95 minus 90 over 18 over the square root of 30, which will give you 1.52 if you round it off.
1.52.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go on your table and you search for 1.52, which gives you 0.9357, and then you minus that answer.
So you go to the table, 1 minus the value you find on the table was 0,
9357.
57, and
the
that
answer gives you option 2, 0.0643.
yes. Yes. Next.
Okay, so n is 100.
Do we have the answer?
I'm still calculating it. It's there. I don't know why my calculator is giving me an error. I think I'm doing something wrong. Okay, stand.
Okay, so let's look at that. So what is P? What are we given? We're given N. We're given
Which
X.
is 100.
Yes, we're given X, which is 25. And we're given the population proportion. The first question was, what is P? P is X divided by N. 25 divided by 100. What do you get?
0.25.
And your P, your pi is 0.3.
Yes.
So we need to find the standard error. So our standard error
0.3
is the square root of your P 1 minus your P divided by N. Do the calculation.
zero point 0.0458.
So you find that it is
0.0458.
so it's 0.3 times 1 minus 0.3 divided by 100, which is
0.0458.
and that will make option 4. You need to calculate the probability that P is greater than or equals 0.7. Therefore, you need to go find the probability that Z is greater than or equal to P minus P divided by the square root of P times 1 minus P pi divided by N. And remember, when you get to the answer, it will be 1 minus the value you find. we have the answer? Okay. Do we have the answer? So we're given our population proportion, we're given our N, we are given our P in the question. So we just substitute P Z greater than 0,7 minus our population proportion 0,74 divide by 0,74 times 1 minus 0,74 divide by N. What do you get? What is the value of P? I'm just gonna rewrite it somewhere here at the end. What do you get? 0.74 times 1 minus 0.74 divide by 100. Take the square root of the answer. We get Z greater than minus 0.04 divided by 0.0439. Do you also get the same? Do you also get the same?
No, can we go one step back? 0.74 bracket 1 minus 74 divided by 100. What's the answer there?
Okay, wait. Let's take it there. 1 minus 0.74
Yes.
times 0.74 is 0.1924. Divide that by 100 is 0.0019. Take the square root of that answer. That
Yes.
you get 0.0439, which is what I have.
Okay, now I've got you now.
Okay, so minus 0.04 divide by 0.0439 equals minus 0.91. Since we're using greater than, we're going to say 1 minus the value we find on the table, which is Z, less than minus 0.91. We go to the Z table. On the negative side, we look for 0.91. We get 0.1814. We get 1 minus 0.1814. So we say 1 minus 0.1814 gives us 0.8186, which is option 3. Which is option 3. Okay. And this comes to the end of our session. Any question? I don't know. I still don't have the link to post the notes. So I will share the notes on WhatsApp. Those who don't have the WhatsApp group, or those who are not on the WhatsApp group and you want to be part of the WhatsApp group, the link will be on the notes. But I guess I will have to let's copy that and post it on the chat as well. Remember also those who haven't filled in the register, please make sure that you complete the register. I'm going to post the WhatsApp group link on the chat, and I'm also going to post again the register so that you can all remember where it is and complete it, please, before you leave the session. The purpose of the WhatsApp group will help is to help us with the administration issues. In case we get lost somewhere, we can always communicate. If the classes are cancelled, we can always communicate quicker on the WhatsApp group. We can also use it to have any discussion outside of the sessions that we have. And here is the link to the register for those who haven't completed it. Just to close off while I'm still at the recap. So remember, for July, we will send you the new schedule that will tell you when we have the class and what topic we're going to be discussing in July as well. Other than that, if you have any issues, any administrative issues, send an email to ctntat@unisa.ac.za. And if you need assistance with the module, you do get a consultation, but since I am a very busy person, it's very challenging for me to say when I will have those one-on-one consultation. But if it's a must and you're really struggling and you need to help urgently, you can send an email to ctntat@unisa.ac.za and CC my email, eboyem@unisa.ac.za. And remember, it is the first slide that I showed you. You will get it on the notes as well. You can send an email to ctntat and CC my name and state what the challenge you have or what assistance you require. Because if it's administrative issues, then I don't have to intervene. But if it is content related, you need assistance with how to use your calculator, how to calculate something. It doesn't have to be related to the work that we just did, but it can be related to your module. Any assistance that you require, you can send an email there, but you have to be specific. Other than that, thank you for availing yourself for the session for today. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I will see you in July.
Thank you so much. For me, I'm lost. I'm not good in this. So I don't know if maybe you may highlight to me so that I can try to read ahead so that when I come into class, at least I have something, because me and statistics, I'm just lost.
Okay, so what I also can suggest is since for June we didn't have we started late, but for July we're going to have a session plan already where it will guide you in terms of what you need to know for that week, what we're discussing, and you will have the notes already on the online as well that you can go through them before class. At the moment I don't know how to post it to make it available for everyone, because Jacques said he will fix the link. So, but you will have all the notes for July uploaded for ease, so that you can come prepared already with all the questions into class. The other thing, all the recordings or all the past recordings in terms of the tutorial or the facilitation of skills are loaded on streams under UNISA Western Cape. So if you go to stream on Microsoft and you log in using your UNISA My Life email, not your company email, or you won't find that. If you use your UNISA My Life email and you search for your module like STA 1610, you will find the past video recordings or the past recordings of tutorial classes that we used to have online. Since this year we're no longer doing online tutorials, or we only keeping to the facilitation of skills. So, but the videos for the previous years are loaded there.
Okay,
You can access them and you can go through because I think they are chapter related. So you should be able to search and find content that you're struggling with and watch those videos. Otherwise, then, yeah, if you need help, you can send an email to the 2 email addresses that I just alluded to. Any other question or any input? Or before we...
you. Mina, I'm not from the Western Cape. I'm in Gauteng. We don't have these sessions. So I just found this, and then unfortunately I can't get into the Western Cape region. I tried, I could not. So I only found the link to get to the classes, but I can't get deeper into there. So I'll try the email.